Hello guys and girls, how are we doing? Thank you for joining me. My name's Didi. I'm a newly passed HGV driver. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. I've wanted to get my HGV licence for years and I've just never been able to afford it. For my Class 2 and my Class 1 it's going to cost about £3,000, which is quite a lot of money in this day and age, especially to someone that's got 7 kids. Do you know what I mean? But I saw something recently on BBC News which was regarding the shortage of HGV drivers in the UK. Now, first of all, is there actually a shortage of HGV drivers? Who really knows? I believe statistics show there's 370,000 people with a Class C plus E licence. That's 370,000 people. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of licences with people with the ability to drive trucks. I believe there is 30,000 people doing the CPC every single year. That's nearly 30,000 driver's qualifications card every year. So there's probably quite a lot of people that aren't actually driving, people that have maybe retired or people that have moved on to easier jobs. But still, is HGV driving seasonal? If you're looking for work in November and December, driving trucks, wagons, or whatever you want to call them, you're probably going to find it quite easy to get work. But me now, I've just been given an approved driver certificate, whatever that means, but it'll look good when it's on my wall. But I'm out of work. I've no work. I didn't work Monday and I've not worked Friday. And I also post up HGV vlogs. And I was supposed to be recording today because today was going to be my last day in the old ERF that I was driving. But I've not been able to record that. So I've no recordings for this week, apart from this, what I'm doing now. I was watching the BBC News the other day, well, about 2 weeks ago, and it said the main reason why there's a shortage of HGV drivers in the UK is because there's not enough women in the job. How does that work? Now, before you all start going ballistic in the comments section, I am not sexist in any way, shape or form. I am not. I believe in complete equality. If, women want to do any job that's mainly a men's job, then that's completely fine. But also, if men want to do a job that's a woman's job, I think that should be completely fine. All these arguments about men and women's equality, me personally, it drives me daft. Drives me absolutely daft. I saw something about 12 months ago where a group of women had got together and gone mental at someone in a structural engineering company because they wasn't hiring women. Now, the problem I've got with that, the problem I've got with this HGV driving thing and women, is that women just don't want to do it. I know women truck drivers. I know 4, I think, on YouTube alone. I know 4. If women want to be a HGV driver, they'll go out and do it. The thing is, the benefits are not good enough in HGV driving. For especially women who look after children, young children, or want to start families or whatnot, it's kind of the norm for the man to go out and earn the money. Why the woman raises the baby to a suitable age where they can then put them in nursery and then start their job. You could never look after a baby while you're working from 5 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. So that's usually why the man would go and do it. If the roles are reversed and the woman wants to go out and work longer hours and the man stay at home, then that's completely fine. But that's not usually how this kind of, day-to-day life works. My missus is struggling at the moment because she's a nurse and she's working 13.5-hour shifts at the hospital. She comes home and picks Gracie up from nursery. She baths Gracie, gets Gracie ready for bed. She looks after her own kids. We've got 2 kids that are hers. She looks after them too. And she does all that. It's very rare she actually asks me to do it. She wants to do it. So I let her. So I think that's kind of the way that life is. So I think the people that are recommending to hire more women to get into the HGV industry to sort everything out, I think that's a complete load of nonsense. I don't think that's ever going to work. I don't think you're going to recruit 100,000 women to be HGV drivers because the benefits for women to step away from family life, they're not good enough in HGV driving. I mean, the rules, how complicated are the rules? You know, I know people, well actually I talked to one guy who doesn't even know how to do a manual entry. He doesn't know, you know, when he can and can't work when it comes to 24-hour breaks. I mean, how confusing are the rules? How confusing is the working time directive and the driver's hours? Why can't it just be as simple as, once you have been at work for 5 hours, regardless of whether you've drove for 5 hours or whether you've been just sat at work for 5 hours, you need to take a half an hour break, or a 45-minute break, or an hour break. Why can't it just be as simple as that? Why does the driving time have to be shorter than the working time? Why confuse everything like that? Why not say you can do 2 5-hour stints of driving, that's 10 hours per day. If you only do 4 hours driving but you've been at work for 5 hours, you need to have a break. So then it's simple as that. There's none of this overlapping or I've only done 3 hours driving but I've been out for 5 hours and 45 minutes. So I really need to park up somewhere really quick and find somewhere to have a 15-minute break. And then you've just got to sit there for 15 minutes. Is that really classed as a break? Are you actually really having a break when you sat there thinking, for God's sake, I just want to get back to work? When you're driving back to the yard and you're 10 minutes away from the yard and your tacho's flashing at you saying you've only got 5 minutes driving left, you've got to pull up for 45 minutes just to drive 5 minutes down the road. It seems a bit daft to me, and it's a bit confusing. Well, it's a lot confusing. There is so many people that are confused by the working time directive. Whether you're male or female, you know, it doesn't matter. It's really confusing. And obviously the wages are no good. Well, they're not good enough to entice people into the industry, are they? I have been offered a job at pretty much every single place I've worked at with the agency up to now. And I got offered a job on Wednesday working at the steel place. So I said, well, how much do you pay an hour? He said, well, it's a tenner. Why would I quit the agency when I'm on £10.75 an hour to take work permanent doing the same thing day after day after day for £10 an hour? Why would I? My minimum payment on the agency is 8 hours. So if I do 4 hours work, I still get paid 8 hours. But if I only do 4 hours work hired by them, I only get 40 quid. Why would you do that? Where's the incentive to get a full-time job? And what happens when IR35 comes in and all these agency lads all get chucked off? I was going to swear them. What happens then? What happens when they all get binned? Because a lot of agency drivers are limited because they want the freedom. They want the freedom to work when they want. You know, they want the freedom to have time off when they want. And it's pointless being PAYE on an agency because you don't get any of the benefits that you do get being full-time employed. So I think IR35 is going to push a lot of people into another industry, personally. I might be completely wrong, but that's what I think is going to happen when this IR35 really comes in. I understand all the stuff with the tax fraud and all that, you know. I'm not interested in tax fraud. I save 20% of my tax every single week and it goes into a separate account, and that's where it stays. And that is for the entirety of my working year. I've already saved up over £1,500 worth of tax already, and I've only been driving for 3 months. So it's nothing to do with tax fraud or tax evasion or anything like that. I just like being limited. I've been self-employed now for 7 years, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the freedoms. I enjoy not being tied down to any type of contract or anything like that. So that's another thing. They said they're going to hire XForces. They're going to try and recruit XForces. So you've got a band of brothers, a tight-knit, unit in the military, in the army. And you're telling me that when they come out, your ingenious idea is to take that one person who's had, grenades thrown at him, RPGs fired at him, rounds whizzing by his head, and you're going to chuck him in a wagon for 5 nights on his own with no one to talk to. Do you really think that's going to do him any good? Honestly? I personally don't think that's going to do him any good. You need to have a certain state of mind to be a wagon driver or a HGV driver. It's no use just taking anybody and everybody and chucking them in a wagon and saying you'll be fine, because a lot of them won't be fine. A lot of normal, everyday people don't like wagon driving because it's monotonous, it's boring, It's the same thing over and over again. The same roads, the same traffic jams, the same idiotic drivers. So, again, you know, it might work for a few, but it's not going to be, you know, a long-term lifesaver of the HTV industry. It's just not. The other one that they said was ex-offenders. Really? Ex-offenders. So what you're going to do, pay for the licences? When they come out of jail, are you going to give them $3,000 for go and get the Class 2 and the Class 1? Or the C and the C+E? Because if you are, I'll go to the corner shop and nick some Hubba Bubbas. You can lock me up and pay for my Class 1. Happy days. I'll take that. I'll do a couple of months in jail. Or whatever. For you to pay for my Class 1. Because it's bloody expensive. And I think that'd just be completely unfair. So, unless they're going to pay for it themselves, which means they have to get out and get a normal job and then pay for it, what are you going to do there? You're going to fund their licence? I don't think so. I don't think that's the way to go. And what you're going to do, give drink drivers an HGV licence? Or are you going to give drug drivers an HGV licence? What kind of ex-offenders are you talking about? Is it going to be what people that have done armed robberies? Are you going to send them out with a trailer full of watches or iPads, mobile phones? So I personally don't think they've thought this through at all. Either that or they're just straying away from the obvious. It's clear to see the reason why there's a shortage of HGV drivers is because the wages are piss poor. That's number one. Who wants to spend 5 days away from the family for £9.96 an hour? I know 2 haulage firms who are paying £10 an hour or less for a Class 1 driver. £10 an hour. It is true what they say. You could go to Asda or Aldi or Lidl and stack shelves for more than that. And you don't have to pay any money to get into that line of work. You just go in there, anybody whatsoever, and just say, can I have a job? Oh yeah, there you go, go and stack shelves. There's your pallet of beans, put them on that shelf and you're getting paid more than £10 an hour. How is that fair when we've got to pay £3,000 plus our CPCs, which as well we've got to keep up to date, plus we've got to follow all the rules and regulations, plus we've got to put up with ridiculous transport managers, we've got to put up with having the curtains slashed, we've got to put up with ridiculous parking fees, we've got to put up with places that aren't actually secure, with poor roadside facilities. You've got to put up with all that, and you're only getting paid £9.96 or £10 an hour for it. You're expected to do, you know, ridiculous amounts of hours and fiddle the hours to get around the rules. Like with me, I did 60 hours in a week at one place, and they said, all right, well, just go out and be double man then, and that way you can get more hours in, and ended up doing 71 hours a week. I don't mind doing 71 hours a week. I'm here to graft. I'm thinking about a lot of people. I'm thinking about the bigger picture, not just me. I like the money. But doing 70 hours in a week, that's pretty unheard of in a normal day-to-day job. You know, 12 hours a day for 5 days is less than 71 hours. It's a lot of work for not really a lot of money. When I used to be on pretty much what I'm on now, when I was scaffolding, but doing a hell of a lot less hours. The work might have been a little bit harder, but there you go. So I think you need to bump up the wages massively. A lot. You know, £13 an hour at the very least for your Class 1 drivers. At least. The facilities really need a massive overhaul. These secure car parks, they need to actually be secure. There need to be people patrolling the car parks and looking out for the people that keep the UK turning. If you sat in an office now watching this, or if you sat in your front room, have a look around. Every single thing that you can see has been on a wagon at some point. Everything. To the flooring, because I know because I've delivered it. To the paint that goes on your ceiling, I know because I've delivered it. To the plaster or whatever they use on the ceiling, I know because I've delivered it. To all your kitchen worktops, to your kitchen units, to your cooker, your fridge, your washer, IKEA's bloody baby chairs. Every single finger's been on a wagon in here. And if everyone decided, you know what, we're gonna go on a strike, like these train drivers keep doing, the UK would grind to a halt. The entire world would grind to a halt. One of my mates has just set off now to Czech Republic as a HGV driver. God knows what he's picking up, but he's driving to the Czech Republic to bring stuff back. If he went on strike, what would happen then? Who knows? So, HGV wages, make them higher, pay us more. And I love my job. I absolutely love it. I'd never go on strike because I love it. But it pisses me off when they talk about HGV driver shortages and think that there's all these stupid ways that they can get around it. No. Make the job more inviting. Make the rules easier to understand. Make parking places more available and more secure. And put up the goddamn wages. I'm going to shut up ranting. I have just ranted because I've got a day off work and I want to be in work. There you go. That's my 2 cents. If anyone from the BBC or the ITV or the Transport Ministry is watching, there's your problem. Oh, and another thing. I've got one more thing actually. Idiotic transport managers that have never driven a wagon in their life. Could you imagine having a manager over an hospital that's not a doctor or a surgeon or anything? Or a manager of a doctor's practice that has never been a doctor? Or a manager of a dentist that's never been a dentist? It'd never happen. Because if one doctor went to the manager for some advice on something, they wouldn't have a clue. But for some reason in the transport industry, it's completely acceptable to have someone that's never driven a wagon before plan routes for people that haven't got a clue. I know this firsthand. I went into a transport office once with a route that I'd been given, and I told them, I'm not going to be able to do that route. Yes, you are. You'll be fine. No, I'm not going to be able to do that route. You'll be fine. So I said, right, this is my route, and I got my route on my sat-nav, put my points of interest, my drops, and then come back. 11 hours driving. 11 hours and 8 minutes driving. That's without traffic. That's without manoeuvring. That's without brakes. That's without anything. 11 hours and 8 minutes driving. I said, I'm not going to be able to do it. Look, the sat-nav says, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. If you can't do it, just pull over and we'll come and pick you up. You can't do that because I'll be going over my hours. You'll be fine. Go out and do it. And since I said that, I haven't worked at that place. How does that work? You should only have transport managers and route planners that are HGV drivers that know the job. That's my opinion. Up the wages, sort the transport managers and route planners out, sort the services out, make them more secure. Make the rules and regulations easier to understand. If you're going to make us pay for these drivers' qualifications card, at least make them understandable for us. Thank you for watching. My name's Dee. I'm a HGV driver. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments section below. Tell me if I didn't make sense. Tell me if I did make sense. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and I'll see you in a bit. Bye.